Hey, Purpose Chasers, big news. Doors are officially open for the brand new Pillar Mastery. If you've ever felt stuck or like your personal goals are always on the back burner, this is your moment. Pillar Mastery is a transformational program that uses my proven 6 Pillars of Wealth framework to help you align your vision, create momentum, and finally start seeing results. Now, who is this for? Ambitious individuals who want to balance success with well-being. And guess what? If you join before January 26th, you'll unlock exclusive live bonuses, including deep dive workshops and Q&A sessions with me. Don't miss your chance to elevate your life in 2025. Head to pillarmastery.com for all the details. That's pillarmastery.com. Let's master your pillars together.
Even though I'm not dedicating all of my energy to just that one pillar, I still have to just take pieces of it and just keep that aligned as well, because all of it focuses and leads me to what I want to bring into my business and my life.
I'm Patrice Washington, and this is the Redefining Wealth podcast, where authenticity leads to alignment and abundance. Join us each week as we peel back the layers on what wealth truly means and dive into conversations that inspire, connect, and empower you to live your richest life. Get ready to challenge the status quo. It's time to redefine wealth for yourself. You're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with Patrice Washington. This is the space that you come to each and every week to learn more about what it means to chase purpose, not money. And that's because in this community, we understand that wealth is just so much more than simply money and material possessions. We subscribe to the original 12th century definition of wealth, which says it's about the condition of well-being and happiness. And so we know that there are other parts of our lives that impact our finances, our vision, our careers, everything that we say we want to do, even when we're not thinking about it subconsciously, subliminally. There's a lot of other things that are going on. And that is what's at the root of Pillar Mastery. The doors to Pillar Mastery are currently open, and all week you are hearing stories of brilliant, amazing women that I have an opportunity to support through Pillar Mastery, and you get to hear their stories. I think it's so important that you do. And I hope that in today's story, you get to hear something that resonates with your journey and what you desire for yourself. And so my special guest and client that I get to introduce you to today is Waqiah Napier Luther. She's a dedicated holistic nutrition health coach, transformational speaker, thanks to Command the Stage, and proud ambassador for the Endometriosis Association. She specializes in empowering women who suspect or have been diagnosed with endometriosis to create personalized healing plans aimed at reducing pain and other symptoms naturally. Waqiah's journey with endometriosis became deeply personal when she was officially diagnosed in 2017. After undergoing a second surgery in 2018, she realized that surgery alone wasn't the solution she had just hoped for. This turning point fueled her passion to explore holistic approaches and share her insights to help others navigate their healing journeys with hope and empowerment. Without further ado, here is Waqiah Napier Luther. Welcome to the Redefining Wealth podcast, Waqiah.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Patrice.
Look at you. You have just been speaking now. You also were on the stage for the client reflection panel at Redefining Wealth Live.
Yes.
When you started 2024, did you think you'd be doing all this speaking?
Not at all.
What a difference. What a difference a year makes. So, okay. Let me go back. I know that you've been a purpose chaser, kind of listening to the podcast and those things for some years. What drew you to Pillar Mastery initially? So after, you can tell us how long you actually knew who I was or what Redefining Wealth was, and then what actually drew you into Pillar Mastery?
So I think for me, it started probably like in maybe 2021, I had heard you and I knew that there was something about you that kept drawing me in, but I really couldn't come in closer because I didn't really connect as closely. It didn't resonate. The message didn't resonate quite with me. And then when I heard you talking about soul detox, which is like, the preamble to get to pillar mastery, that's when it clicked. And it was literally like a hard click. It was like, this is it. Like I felt it
Mm,
literally in my body. It was like, this is it. This is my call. I have to do this.
that's interesting. I remember, when we were working one-on-one for a period, when you told me that you had been drawn to me. And I think that's so interesting, right? Like you can feel that there's a connection, but at the time you said I was offering stuff like Purpose to Platform and Command the Stage, and that didn't really resonate at that time, which is interesting because I know that you have been building a business or desiring to build a business alongside your full-time occupation. So what was the difference for you? So Purpose to Platform, it felt like, okay, well, that's about business. I'm not really interested. What was it about Soul Detox that actually spoke to your soul in 2020? Well, you came into Pillar Mastery at the beginning of 2024, right?
Yeah, I guess it was like the beginning because it was the end of March.
Okay. And so what clicked for you with Soul Detox in particular?
I think it was mainly because you were talking about the difference between soul awareness, self awareness, and soul awareness. And so that was my thing. I think that for me, you were saying, if you have self awareness, and I'm like, I have self awareness in tons because I had been working on my self awareness for many, many years. I worked with a life coach, an amazing life coach, Patrice, and she helped me to like learn to like build my emotions, like express them, recognize them, all of that. And so I learned to recognize so much more about myself and how I reacted and moved in the world. But when you started talking about having that self awareness, but bringing that into what you want to bring into with your business and life and just making that merge and connect better, I think that that's when it was just like, I literally felt that. And I'm like, oh my God, like this is it because I have so much self awareness. How much more self awareness can I have? Like where's the soul awareness was like bringing that together with what I want to bring out my purpose in the world. And I'm like, this speaks to me. It really does.
Mm.
It's more like saying to me, actually.
It's saying to you, I love that. Yeah, because I feel like for me, I've been in personal development for over 20 years, just either learning initially, healing. I feel like we're always on a healing journey, but healing and then also sharing and teaching others. And that idea for me was so powerful too. Like self-awareness is, yes, I know these things about me. I know why I do what I do. I know these things, what makes me tick. I know a lot of my backstory now. I know a lot of the trauma that I've experienced. I can name things. I have all this language. Okay. But that soul awareness was, how do I own it and leverage it and cultivate it and harness it to be my most authentic self? Like just knowing it is one thing, but then being able to own it and not own it like I'm just holding all the weight of it, but own it, accept it, and be able to like move through life, leveraging it in the way that feels good for me. Cause I think self-awareness too will have you like, and you talked about this experience too with me, like, okay, I know I want to go do the program or I know I want to go launch the thing, but then not having soul awareness doesn't give you any, when you don't have the soul awareness, you don't know how you're supposed to take this information and intuitively be able to go out and use it, right?
Right.
Like
Exactly.
what was your experience with that piece of like, okay, I know I want a business. I know you had been in a business program before. What was not having that soul awareness? How did that impact the results of your first time out launching a business?
Actually, when I tried to launch my business before, years ago, before I even met you, I think part of the problem was that at the time, I didn't really have a lot of self awareness. And so I still had a lot of pieces of me that I had to work on. And so then once like it came around when I got to the soul detox with you, I had a lot of self-awareness, but I didn't have that confidence. I didn't have that self-worth. There was a lot of little pieces like that I didn't know how to use that and move into the next step. because, and then it's also the language and the acceptance, because I think with a lot of the language and a lot of things that you speak to in Pillar Mastery and just throughout a lot of your programs, they really kind of give you, it's almost like I have permission to really actually just step into the next phase of the actually, okay, now I desire to really do this thing.
Yeah. So what was it like going through Pillar Mastery and examining each one of the pillars and just seeing, I don't know, you tell me in your words, like what shifted for you in the pillars as you went through Pillar Mastery that you think has been beneficial to your journey as a whole?
For the most part, and actually the most distinct part for me with Pillar Mastery is that I was kind of going about life, just kind of blending everything together and not really structuring and organizing it. But with Pillar Mastery, it allows me to keep my life more organized. And it's just so much like that. There's so many like little pieces, but that's like the main piece. Like I think, and for me, for somebody who likes to have organization, because my brain works better with organization, it worked for me perfectly because the pillars, each one of the pillars really just kind of fits into my life. And even though if I have a specific focus on one of my pillars, I know that, and I've had to learn, you told us that, but you know, when you tell someone something and doing it is totally different.
Yeah.
I literally tried to focus on just that one pillar. That was my focus pillar of that moment. Because you know how, like, when you're going through Pillar Mastery, you say, pick up focus pillar. And so I would try to I picked fit pillar. And what I did was I focused so hard on fit pillar that some of the other pillars were falling off. And so I had to learn, and, you know, through what you constantly keep reiterating, but also through my own trials and tribulations, is that while you keep one particular focus, your main focus for your pillar, that doesn't mean ignore all the other pillars. It just means you don't have to pour as much into those pillars, because all of these pillars all work together, that they all mingle together well, that you have to, you know, be able to focus on just that one, but just kind of work with and still pull a little bit of it. So like for me, I'll give you a good example, a personal example for me. My fit pillar is very specific, and that's what I wanted to work on, because my goal is to reverse all of my symptoms. And so that's what I was focusing on, but I was focusing on it so much that my space pillar started to get a little crazy. and, so, and then I would not understand how somehow my mind just wasn't very clear. And then I'm looking at my space pillar and I'm like, I remember you said that the space pillar can affect your mind. And I'm like, I've heard that before. And I'm like, okay. So then I would start fixing and cleaning up my space pillar. And so when I realized that now I have to really kind of focus on just making sure that even though I'm not dedicating all of my energy to just that one pillar, I still have to just take pieces of it and just keep that aligned as well, because all of it focuses and leads me to what I want to bring into my business and my life.
Yeah. I mean, I think what it really comes down to is there are some pillars that are going to shine more in a season based on what your vision is at that moment in your life. But the thing about the pillars are they are used to protect the vision. And like you said, we can get so obsessed with a goal or an outcome and this one particular point in our life and not realize there are still things that we need to do in the other pillars to help maintain that. We don't just get to like, okay, now I'm only doing this. It's like, that's not real life. And that is the beauty of it, right? Is that I don't think that we were really taught to understand, at least I wasn't, that each piece of my life, all these different parts had purpose.
Right, exactly.
It's like we just are taught to like go to work, go to school, get your paycheck, pay your bills or whatever, but you're not really taught the bigger picture for how all these parts of your life come together to either support the goals that you say you have and the vision that you say you have, or ignoring them, diminishing the power and the value of them, not prioritizing certain pieces of this, literally has the ability to sabotage everything you say you want just because you lack awareness.
Oh my gosh, yes.
It's just the awareness. So I know you have your story with endo. Why do you feel like you were being called to serve women in this way? Because you can experience it and not have the desire to help other people.
It's funny that you say that because actually I hadn't wanted to. And that was part of the reason why I went into Pillar Mastery, because I had still been looking for my purpose and I wasn't sure. And I absolutely didn't want to have anything to do with endometriosis. And I think part of it was really because it was so painful. It took so long to get diagnosed. And then just all of the painful, like the physical pain, the emotional pain, all of that. So I really just didn't even want to deal with it at all. And then God kept speaking to me through dreams. And when he kept speaking to me through these dreams, he kept trying to direct my focus back to endometriosis. And I just kind of kept ignoring it, didn't want to do it. And so I had two main things that, not only was God trying to speak to me through my dreams, but I had two main things that happened to me where it was like, oh, I cannot escape this. He is telling me what I'm supposed to be doing and I have to do it. One of them was I had a setback. I wound up in the hospital based off that setback. I mean, I was able to go home the same day, but it was a wake up call for sure. And I thought it was, I went to the hospital thinking it was one thing and it wasn't. It was actually an endometriosis rearing its head again. And I'm like, whoa. And then the second one was my mom had gone to this event. And when she went to this event, it made no sense for her because these were all elderly people that she was going to go service. And they were passing out endo flyers. So I happened to see her like a couple of weeks later and she's like, yeah, Waqiah, they're handing out these flyers. I mean, it's endometriosis, so I guess I'm just going to give it to you. And I'm like, how? How? Like, that makes no sense. Why do old people need anything about endometriosis? So that was pretty much like the catalyst that kind of like helped me to realize that God was like, no, this is what you're going to focus on. You're going to focus on your healing and you're going to help other women who may be a few steps behind you that you need to pull up as well. And so even though I kind of accepted it, but I didn't fully accept it. And I think when I wrote that letter, I had wrote myself a letter to Endo because I was still pissed off a little bit with God putting that on my shoulders and I didn't want it. And I think with that, being able to really like express how I felt with Endo and then realizing that it wasn't endometriosis' fault that she was there, and I still had to be able to really truly accept that this is my temporary norm and to know that there's something that I can do about it. And I think once I did that, once I really like poured out my emotions and really connected to that letter, I was able to forgive Endo for being here and knowing that, yes, you are here for now. And I do want you to go, but this time you're going to go with love. I'm not going to shove you away and push you away. And that really helped me to accept the purpose that God put on me. So it wasn't a very easy, simple, okay, this is my purpose. No, it was God said, this is what you're going to do.
Yeah, it just kept showing up and showing up.
Exactly.
I mean, it makes me think of when people say, you can quit a job, but you can't quit a calling.
Yes.
Like when something is calling you, it literally just keeps showing up. There just keeps being these signs, these signals, these invitations, the wings. It's just like you cannot just get away from it. And this is where I think having that soul awareness starts to really come in handy because you start to allow yourself to explore, to ask better questions, to receive. It's not just the shutdown. No, like I dealt with this. I don't want to do that. I feel like soul awareness allows you to be guided with a little bit more intention almost. Like you start to be able to connect the dots and piece things together. So as you went through Pillar Mastery, I'm just curious about for each one of the pillars, are there any things that you did or that you experienced, like conversations that you had through our pillar integration rooms or anything there that you feel like help continue to peel back the layers for your acceptance of what you were feeling purpose to do?
I loved how you would do the first class and you would like teach us about the concepts. Of course, we had to do the work beforehand. But I think when it came to the integration rooms, that really helped because the integration rooms were really there to help give us support, but it was also to help us to integrate what it is that we learned in your session. And I think with the constant like integration of those, like I would try different things like from the list, and then we would all talk about it. And it really, I think that is what really like pulled and honed it in and really made me connect even more so with that, because it was like, oh, this is how the pillars actually fit together with my purpose.
Mm. Yeah, I love that we shifted to giving time for integration, because I just started to feel like you can water hose people with information, but you don't really know what works for you and what doesn't until you've had time to integrate.
Exactly.
Other than that, you're just like taking in more information and you're becoming more and more self-aware. But integration is where soul awareness starts to take place, because you get to test and tweak and try different things and literally sit with, how does this feel for me? How does this resonate with me? Am I feeling inspired by this? Am I feeling drained by this? Is this pulling me in any direction? Like, it just gives you time, a little bit more time at least, to just, what does this feel like for me? What can I do with this, as opposed to just more and more information gathering?
I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was seriously an information gatherer. I definitely was. I was famous for information gathering. So definitely the integration rooms definitely helped me to stop and actually integrate what I was learning piece by piece.
You know that feeling when you're chasing big dreams, but deep down, it feels like something's off. Like ambition is pulling you one way, but your vision for the life you really want is somewhere else entirely. That's exactly why I created Pillar Mastery, to help you make ambition align with what truly matters. This is your chance to join a self-paced, on-demand program where you will gain lifetime access to the proven 6 Pillars of Wealth framework. It will help you balance success and well-being while moving towards your biggest goals. And here's the game changer. If you say yes now, you will unlock exclusive live bonuses available only through January 26th. It includes deep dive workshops, live Q&As with me to fine-tune your roadmap for 2025, and our brand new Pillar Progress Assessment. This is a powerful tool that takes just 15 minutes to complete. It'll give you your exact score for each pillar, show you what you need to do next, and highlight the 5 building blocks that need your attention the most. If you're ready to stop spinning your wheels and start creating aligned momentum, head to Pillar Mastery now. Don't wait. Your next level is waiting. That's pillarmastery.com. Let's master your pillars together. I'm curious, because I feel like in this journey, faith had to have been a big piece for you. So when it comes to the faith pillar, as you went through Pillar Mastery, what from the faith pillar supported you in actually, again, kind of accepting this assignment?
Actually, the biggest thing for the faith pillar for me was the letting go of very specific connotations of what religion and spirituality were. And I think it was almost as I was given permission to truly have a relationship with God my way and not a specific way that I was supposed to do. And I think with that, I opened up. And I think because I had never really I had been having dreams, but I had never felt the connection of God speaking to me through my dreams the way I did until I started with Pillar Mastery, and then further on as I went through some of the other programs. So just unlocking that acceptance really helped me to connect closer to God. So for sure.
Wow, that's really powerful. We hadn't even talked about that before. I'm so glad I asked. Like, no, that is really powerful. That's been such a big piece of my evolution as well. Like, I'm very grateful for my foundational faith. However, being able to define and redefine and explore and ask questions and know for myself why I believe what I believe, and know for myself, my concept of God is that God is loving and is not waiting to punish me at every turn.
Right.
And
Right. That punishing piece.
that punishing piece, you know what? Because I do think that impacts how we pursue purpose or don't pursue purpose, because we will be so afraid of constantly making a wrong choice that we paralyze ourselves and do nothing. It's this like, well, I don't want to get out of God's will, but also like God is always with us. So there's no real, oh, I did it wrong. It's I made a choice. And if I believe that God is with me and God loves me and God cares for me, and there's nothing that I could do for him to not love me or for whatever you refer to God as, the beautiful thing about it is we get to trust ourselves, trust our journey, trust our path, and not feel like we're behind. Like once we do come into this, there's no like, oh, I now I done wasted 5 years. I wasted 7 years. This has been on my heart for 20 years. I've wasted it. No, it's also just this idea that it happens in divine time. And there were pieces of me that I needed to work through. There was the self-awareness journey that you had to be on. There's so many other things that had to come into being in order to be in this space where now it's like, okay, I'm in a space where I'm redefining or reconceptualizing my idea of faith. And now these dreams make sense. Now I can see it. Now I can see my mom bringing me this pamphlet from like about endometriosis from a senior citizens event. It's like, okay, well, wait a minute. I can see that there is something bigger here. Now
Yes.
it's like you can connect the dots. The breadcrumbs make sense. But I get what you're saying. For so long, I do believe that my concept of faith made me live with such fear for seasons of my life that it did everything but help me step into my calling.
Yes.
It actually did the complete opposite. It prevented me from being able to do that. And I just want to be clear, in Pillar Mastery, none of it is about telling you what to believe and what to do. Like you said earlier, it's about giving yourself permission to ask better questions of yourself, to look for the connections, right, between each one of these pillars and what you say you want. What about the work pillar has changed for you?
Actually, I think for me, the work pillar, I have more motivation and energy towards my work pillar. As a matter of fact, when I was supposed to be focusing mostly on my fit pillar and only a little bit on my work pillar. But after we were doing like the one-to-ones and stuff, I started to really like, oh my God, I have all these ideas. I have all these things. It was like my creativity just started opening up and blossoming. And I started having all these ideas and things that I wanted to do. And so I'm like mapping out all these different things and I'm focusing so much on the work pillar that my fit pillar fell. And I was like, oh my goodness, okay.
And what did I tell you during one-on-ones? And I told you, let the record state that after we did some one-on-one coaching for a while, and I said, make sure that you are doing these work pillar endeavors in a way that still honors the commitment that you have to your fit pillar.
I know.
Yeah, uh-huh.
I know. Listen, I can be a little hard headed. Sometimes I need that little crash to tell me, okay, I'm working on not doing that now. But sometimes I need that because I can be a little hard headed. So yeah, it was a wake up call. And I'm like, oof, okay, I gotta stop. I gotta have to pause and just do this a little bit slowly. So now that I'm like working out my schedule to really just have the majority of, especially since I'm still working a 9 to 5. So I definitely had to really have that specific time frame for my healing, my fit pillar, and my work pillar. So, and making sure that it's not a 50-50 with those two.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I told you too is that your ability to dial this in is only going to further support how you support the women that you serve, because you being able to be an example of healing your relationship with endo and also building this service that supports other women healing. I mean, I always tell you guys, I attract who I am, do too muchers. I serve an audience full of do too muchers. And who you are going to continue to need to become in this season is someone who can tame some of the do too muching in order to do what matters most, because your fit pillar in particular, because of this diagnosis, has to be managed well and cared for in a very particular way. And that requires more time potentially than folks who are not dealing with endo or some type of chronic disease or pain or anything. Of course, your fit pillar is going to require that you do more and that you hold yourself to those standards while still being able to build something that is deeply meaningful to you.
Yes. And I'm learning that piece by piece as I go through.
What for you looks different than about what you're building now to support women? Like, what have you been working on? And how does that differ from your first go round with building a business?
So first go round, what I was doing was I was doing a lot of creating. Like I had created a program and I was like constantly on social media all the time and posting things and things like that. But my heart wasn't really in it. My soul wasn't in it. And I think because part of me was still, I still had a lot of animosity towards endo. And because I hadn't worked on, like I said, I hadn't even worked at that time. I hadn't really dealt with the self-awareness that much. And so it was a disconnect for me, but it was also a disconnect for the people I was trying to bring in. And so this time around, I think what I've been doing, since I have both the self-awareness and the soul awareness, I think those two pieces together have helped me tremendously, because now I've taken the podcast with purpose. And so in January, I'll be releasing my podcast, which is going to be called A Letter to Endo. So I'm going to be doing that. And then I have an ebook that's available, and that ebook is going to be, it's titled, I Have Endo, Now What? And basically with that ebook, it's a pretty short ebook, like 25 pages, but what it does is it helps women to make a better choice for what they want to do moving forward. So it's for women who suspect they have endometriosis, or they have endometriosis and they were diagnosed, but they don't know what to do next. So this really helps them to get clearer on that next decision that they want to make. And it basically gives them tools on how to speak to a gynecologist and all kinds of tools. It's actually, I put a lot of heart and soul into that. But I think it's really helpful because these are the things that I wish that I had when I first got diagnosed with endometriosis, because I had to do it all alone. And I don't want other women to have to go through what I went through. So this ebook really is essentially the questions you can ask your doctor and to see if they're a good fit for you, because you have a choice. Your health is your responsibility and your priority. And you have that ability to step in and be an active member of your health and your healing. And so that's the ebook. It also has different treatment options as well. But I focus more on the natural, but I also added the main two, which is surgery and medication, which is just to give like a comprehensive idea of what's available to them. And then also how they can work with me in the future. And then in the first part of probably like, I'm saying maybe like February, March, I'll be ready to go with my program, because I want to test it out with beta testers and things like that just to make sure. But that program is going to be the Cleanse, Nourish, Nurture program. And that program is definitely designed to help women with the things that I wish that I had. One of them was helping me to work with my emotions, because endometriosis can take such a physical and emotional toll. And then also just having a different relationship with endo because of that, but also having a different relationship with food and those other things that will help nurture and enhance the healing process. And so by the end of the 9-week program, plus the accelerated part, it will help have come a cohesive plan where women can actually be able to start their healing journey. So it's a lot of exciting things coming up.
Yeah. And I'm so excited for you, because that soul awareness piece that really spoke to you during Soul Detox and carries through Pillar Mastery, of course, but just our community as a whole, as Redefining Wealth. I really do pray that it continue to support and inspire your ability to support and inspire women who are dealing with this diagnosis. Because it really doesn't matter how many other people out there are doing it. You have a story and a testimony and a heart for doing this. And I think the letter to Endo is so brilliant, but you have a purpose for this. And I just hope that if there's any women here in the Redefining Wealth community, reach out to Waqiah on the Redefining Wealth app, Waqiah. She's the only one in there so far with that name. Reach out to her if you want to be a part of the beta testing for this. If you want to have a sister circle right here in the community that understands what the emotional toll that you talked about, I would assume the financial toll, I would assume just the relational toll, how this actually ends up impacting all of your pillars, not just your fit pillar, but all of your pillars, and have some support from someone who, I mean, when you meet with Kia, her heart, she's just like such a kind, welcoming energy.
Thank you.
I'm really grateful to have someone in our space that is predominantly women who can speak to these types of things. So you guys, if you want to be a part of the beta program or get your hands on the ebook or any of those things, like just make sure you connect with Waqiah. We'll put her contact information in the show notes, but also you can find her in the Redefining Wealth app. I'm so looking forward to this year really being able to highlight and amplify all of the amazing brilliance of this community. Like that you can get, that you could get access to someone who understands. And there's there's so many stories that just keep coming forth. And I'm just really grateful for a space that allows us to explore these things together. So I'm really proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you for the space, because I could tell you that in this space, I have found my community, and I've had closer sub communities as well within this community. But just knowing that this community is here as a whole has been so helpful to my journey so far. Like, I've had more momentum since I joined Pillar Mastery in late March than I've had my entire time I was trying to build a business years before. So thank you for your vision and your calling.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I'll just say, last but not least, I mean, I think you kind of answered it already. I was going to say, if someone is thinking about Pillar Mastery, why would you tell them to get off the fence and join us?
Yeah, I definitely did, but I will definitely say it again, 100%. The community is fire. The community alone is fire. But just the actual deep knowledge and just the understanding. And what I love about how you move through your community and just you show up for yourself and you show up for us in a way that we can follow naturally. So you show up with such integrity that it allows us to see you, and we can, just really move with knowing that there's someone who actually understands us. At the end of the day, that's what everybody wants, to be heard, seen, and understood. And you do that for us. So thank you.
Wow. Man. And since starting this community, I'll say my thing has been, I say it to my team members all the time, our job is to make sure that people feel seen, heard, loved, and respected. That is our internal, behind the scenes. This is our prayer. This is the desire. This is a part of the value ecosystem that drives us, is to make sure that we have a community where people feel seen, heard, loved, and respected. And that is from the community, not just from myself and Shansi, but from the community, that it just feels like a space where you're safe and you're aligned and you can be vulnerable enough to have those conversations in the integration rooms and know that it doesn't go beyond there. There's no malice. There's no people trying to use stuff against you. It's just all love.
It's support. It's love. Oh my gosh. People are talking about what it is that they've tried and all that. And I love it. I really do. I love this community. Like, when I say I found home, I found home.
I love that. I love that. Well, Waqiah, thank you so much for being here. I'm so proud of you. You better be taking care of that fifth pillar. But hey, you guys, I'm so grateful that you were with us for this conversation. Again, come on into the Redefining Wealth app when we drop this episode. Make sure that you show Waqiah some love. It takes a lot of courage to share your story and to do this. And when you hear this episode, by the time you hear it, you should also be able to check out her new podcast, A Letter to Endo. So make sure you search for that on your podcast apps and share that with your sister friends, your girlfriends, your cousins, your whomever in your life that you know could benefit from having a holistic path to treating their endometriosis. Please make sure our resident endo expert here becomes top of mind for their support. And if you are interested in Pillar Mastery, I would love to have you. The doors are open. I'm really excited about this iteration of Pillar Mastery. There's so many bonuses that are happening right now, including those integration rooms that you heard Waqiah talk about that are so powerful. We have the faculty for the Institute for Redefining Wealth who leads those integration rooms and make sure that you're just not coming into another experience where you're just gathering information. This is not just about self-awareness and knowing the things. It's about soul awareness and being able to own it and make it real for you in your life. And as Waqiah also said, maybe you've known what your purpose was, but you've been running from it and you've been trying to I don't really want that. Going through the pillars and being able to clear the clutter and really tune in more to what you are genuinely being called to do, like what your soul is turning your attention to, could be a part of unlocking some next level purpose and vision in your life. So if this sounds like what you need in this season, go to pillarmastery.com. We are shifting the program to be evergreen. So at any point that you tune into this, it will be available. It's just that the special bonuses that we have open right now are only for a short time. So make sure you come check it out and see if this is what would be of service to you in this season. Okay. And I'll be back tomorrow with another Pillar Mastery student highlight. So until then, I want you to live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and of course, earn more without feeling like you have to chase money. We'll talk to you later.